Welcome to Just Relationships, the show that offers you concrete ways to make your relationships better. Whether it's your boss, your spouse, your children, or your friends, the quality of your relationships in life directly affects how you feel about yourself and the success you achieve. Your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer, a psychotherapist, telecoach, author, and seminar leader, will interview top experts to help you learn to manage this essential part of your life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer.
Greetings to you. Well, have you ever had a rude person in your life? Have you ever dealt with rude people on the road, in stores, in just about any place? If you are and you want to make the world different, stay tuned, because I am very, very happy to introduce you to Linda Williams, who is the author of a book entitled Excuse You: The Benefits of Living Courteously. Welcome, Linda.
Thank you so much, Duffy. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, wonderful to have you. Congratulations on your new book.
Thank you.
It is so thorough and so well written and so deep. So deep. I love how you talk about society and what we can do to make a positive difference in society and overall the benefits. So let me ask you, what prompted you to write this book in the first place?
Well, I'm a certified etiquette consultant by trade, and a lot of people know that, some people don't, but I run into a lot of people just in the supermarket or when I'm in the cleaners or whatever, and you'll see someone doing something that's really rude, and someone will turn around and say, I don't understand why people are so rude today.
Yeah.
And people who know me, I have a previous book on church etiquette, they'll say to me, you should write a book on etiquette because people are just so rude.
Yeah.
But the thing is, there are so many books out there on etiquette that I didn't just want to write another book. And it really was divine inspiration, because this book is really about the benefits of the person who is being courteous. In this world, people today always say, well, what's in it for me? Why should I be courteous? Why should I be nice to someone else? And so this book talks about the benefits of the person who's being nice, which is a little bit of a twist.
It is a good twist.
Yeah.
So tell us how it benefits us to be nice.
Well, when you think about it, being courteous is really not about us. And everybody wants to be treated nicely. Everybody, for the most part, everybody wants, people who are courteous to them and who will treat them nicely. But there's an old adage that says, what you give is what you receive.
Mm-hmm.
And so this book talks about how, I don't want to give all of it away, but it talks about the process of getting to the point where you are benefiting from being nice. And you might not necessarily receive that benefit from the person you were nice to, but you will receive a benefit from it. But it takes dedication, takes commitment, takes a belief that you really want to be a better person and a more courteous person, because if that's not your goal, you may not be successful at it. I mean, I have a passion for what I do, and I know that there are a lot of other people out there that have a passion to be courteous and to be nice and want to see the world be a better place. Even like this massacre that happened in New Zealand today,
yes.
If you were listening to the news. People just don't think about the effects of being rude or mean or violent to other people. And so this book kind of gives you a different way.
So by the time this show airs, the New Zealand massacre will be a couple of weeks old. I just want everyone to know that. And this particular man, actually from Australia, said that he purposely went to New Zealand a least conspicuous place so that people would know that there is no safe place in the world.
Yes.
And he had white supremacy all over his suitcase and his guns and all of that. And you have to wonder why people make such a big deal of being superior. Why do I have to walk around saying, I am superior to you?
That's exactly
I am
right.
superior to you. What on earth is that about? To me, it is so obvious that that person feels inferior.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I think people do that because they want attention. You know, they're really desperately crying out for attention. But getting attention by hurting someone else is not the right way. I would rather get attention by doing something really nice for someone rather than going out with a gun and killing people, you know, and getting attention that way. And not only does it get you attention, but it will either get you killed or it will get you in jail. So now where are you?
Right. I came across a quote, something like, the child who is ignored by something, the school, the church, the village, burns it down.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and unfortunately, what happens is that we human beings need attention. That's how we connect. That's what makes us who we are. We are ultimately social beings, so that people will actually opt for negative attention over no attention.
It's true.
And that's why we have these people.
And you know, one of the things that I do is I facilitate etiquette workshops, mostly for high school students, college students, and then business people as well. But one of the things that I tell my high school and college students is people want attention, and when you're doing something, you're either going to get attention in a negative way or in a positive way, but either way you're going to get attention. So which way do you want to do it? Which way do you think is the best way?
Right. Beautiful. Beautiful. As I just said to a client of mine who was thinking about leaving her husband and really thinking the marriage was very bad for many reasons, but was considering staying because she has a young child. And I said, you know, it's going to be mighty disruptive if you leave, mighty inconvenient. It's going to be a rocky road, one way or the other. It can be a rocky road downhill or a rocky road uphill. So you and I are saying the same thing.
We are. And I think sometimes, you know, people believe that they should come to a point in their lives where they have no problems. Everything's smooth. There's no issues. Everything's just great every day. But life is not like that. And so we always tend to want to take what looks like the easier road, but it may not necessarily be. And, you know, like my husband and I have been married for 41 years. And some of that has been wonderful, and some of it has not been. But when you make a commitment, you have to learn to stay with it. And a lot of people just, they don't want to try. It's too difficult. You know, this is not right. I want to do something else. This is too hard. And then they decide to make a change, and as you just said, they find out that even that is not easy.
Right. And even positive change is not easy.
No, it's not. It's not.
Change in itself inevitably is disruptive, and many people will stay stuck in a very negative situation because they're afraid of the unknown.
Yes, true. It's true.
So as an etiquette expert, what do you want the world to know about etiquette?
I think the biggest point that I try to get across is that etiquette and courtesy is not about you. It's not about how people treat you. It's about how you treat people.
Right.
Because the golden rule says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But you are doing first, and then they are responding. So think, for example, if someone says something to you and they say it in a very nasty tone, you automatically, for some reason, respond in a nasty tone.
Mm-hmm.
So when we learn that we get what we give and begin to think about how we're speaking, what we're saying, what we're doing to other people, and taking a step back and saying, you know what, I really don't like being treated like that, so I'm not going to treat anyone else like that. And I think once we begin to get that perspective, hopefully things will start to change.
Yes, and that expression, smile and the world smiles with you, cry and you cry alone. Mm-hmm. It has this little different meaning, the whole quote, but basically I find that people are very responsive in, as you say, in one way or the other.
Yes, exactly. And you know, I'll tell you, it's a little thing that's in the book, but it talks about how I walk every morning. And, you know, I walk here in Westbury, where I live, walk around the library, and I encounter people as I'm walking every morning. And I'm the kind of person that I learned that when you're coming towards someone, you speak to them, you say good morning.
Yeah.
Now, you know, in New York, a lot of people don't do that, but I'm originally from upstate, so I have a little bit different mentality.
Okay.
But the thing about it is, when I'm walking, if someone is coming toward me, I smile and say good morning. And I want to tell you that even if they're not looking at me when I speak and say good morning, 99% of them return the greeting and say good morning.
Wow. I love that. And good morning. It's so beautiful. It's so different from hello.
It is.
And there's something about good morning. You know, this is a new day to start. You have a good morning, you have a good afternoon, you have a good evening.
Yes.
Yes,
true.
I agree.
But again, if I didn't initiate it,
that's right. 3/4
of those people would not speak to me.
Right.
And some of them even smile. It's like, wow, she said good morning.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that I really want to try to get across to people. If there's going to be a change in how we treat each other, it has to start with each of us as individuals. And
Absolutely.
We have to be willing to do that.
Yes, and I am a psychotherapist, and I teach these things to my clients in many ways, and I also teach assertiveness training and conflict resolution in managers. And when I teach assertiveness training, it's always about initiate. Assertive people initiate. Initiate.
Right.
So you're talking about initiating courtesy, initiating etiquette.
Yes.
What is the root of the word courteous? Would you happen to know?
The root of the word courteous, I'm not sure.
I'm wondering if it has something to do with court. How to behave in a court. Whether it's a royal court or a sports court. I love etymology, and I was just curious, because if we look at being tactful, that has to do with tactile,
right?
Textiles. That has to do with having tact is touch, good touch,
right?
And diplomacy is around knowledge. Diploma. I have a diploma. I'm a diplomat. So I was just curious.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I was trying to look it up really quickly, but it doesn't seem. From courteous.
Oh, okay.
It's French, really.
Yes.
Yes, courteous.
Okay, and
yes.
I wonder what that means in French. Well, I'm sorry I threw that out at you.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, it's just my thing, breaking down words. Yes, so what do you want people to know about particulars? So we initiate, we recognize that if we don't benefit immediately, the world can benefit from a ripple effect. We call it paying it forward.
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly. Yes. And that's it. And the whole thing is, once you get to a point where you realize that your behavior has become more courteous because you have worked at it, then you should share it with someone else. Because it's great that you have learned that, and that's a wonderful thing. But if we don't, as you say, either pay it forward or share it with someone else, or say, I took, like in the book, I asked people to take a 30-day challenge, and I give them a plan by which to do that. And if you say to someone, I took this 30-day challenge to become more courteous, and it really worked, can I share it with you? That's how it's going to change. It's, one person reading a book or trying to do better at being courteous is great, but if we don't share it with other people, if we all just stand around and talk about how rude people are and we don't do anything, make any effort to make a change, then it's still not going to happen.
So it starts with just greeting passersby. And what else? What is part of this 30-day challenge? You go food shopping, you go to the library, you go to work, you go on the road.
Well, what I suggest is that each day people remember, before they leave their homes, to look for opportunities to be more courteous to someone. For instance, I was at the doctor's office today, and I was leaving, and I was walking down the hall in the medical building, and there was one of the assistants was coming out of the door, and she had these big cardboard boxes in her hand, and she was struggling. And I saw her trying to open the door, and maneuver the boxes at the same time. And so I stopped, held the door for her so she could come through, and she said, "Oh, thank you very much." So I ask people to look for opportunities every day to be courteous. You can be totally oblivious to what's going on around you.
Yes.
And if you pay more attention to it, you will find at least one, and I would venture to say even more than that, opportunities each and every day to do something kind or courteous for someone else. And after a while, it becomes second nature to you. And then I suggest that at the end of the day, the person reflect on what happened during the day. If you remember that maybe there was an opportunity and you missed it, write that down as well. And at the end of the 30 days, then you review how it went and what you did and how you progressed.
Beautiful. And
so,
I like that. The idea of look for opportunities, be observant. I'm remembering what Mrs. Rogers said, because Mr. Rogers always quotes his mother, and he says, "My mother always said to me, when you're in trouble, look for the helpers. There are always helpers." So that's Mrs. Rogers that said that. And how can I help? And there is also a term called the helper's high.
Okay.
And it is that shows that we actually have some endorphins, positive hormones, induced in our bodies when we are kind or giving to someone else.
Okay. And that's the other thing that I mention in the book is how great you feel when you help someone else. It's a wonderful feeling to help someone else, and you just explained it from the medical perspective. It's the endorphins that, we have in our bodies that give us that feeling when we're helping or we're being kind to someone else.
Yeah, and I love that term because it's alliteration. It's easy to remember helper's high. and something, as you say, that is a major benefit for people.
Right.
So we're living in an age of incivility, and I know that actually I was lecturing on this 20 years ago, and I think, what was I talking about, in terms of how uncivil we have become, how much more uncivil we have become. And so incivility, the opposite of civil, the opposite of civilization. And we need, for civilization to continue, we need to be contactful in a positive way, as you say, to be aware. And so you're talking about doing it and I think role modeling it, because if there is one basic human principle, it's reciprocity.
Yes, that is so true. It's so true. So
it is true that that smiling is an international custom. It's what infants do. It's almost as if our species knows that if you're going to just take care of me and wait on me 24/7 for days and weeks and months and even years, I'd better be cute. So it's kind of ingratiating to smile at people, and smiling is contagious, and also people can tell if a smile is sincere or insincere.
Right, it's so true.
And body language specialists will break it down and say, well, the cheeks have to come all the way up to the eyes, and you smile with your cheeks and your eyes and not just your mouth. We don't have to necessarily analyze this, but we can still tell when it's sincere or insincere.
Yes. And the other thing I will add is it takes more face muscles to frown than it does to smile.
Right.
A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
You walk around frowning and you obtain wrinkles as a result, but smiling doesn't take a lot of face muscles at all, and it's so simple to do. It's such a natural thing to do.
And I smile a lot at people. I enjoy smiling at people, and I also notice how much it helps people feel good, their faces soften.
Yes.
And I'm wondering what you think about name recognition, making an effort to remember people's names.
That's a very important thing, because people like to hear their name.
Yes.
And one of the things that I share when I'm facilitating workshops is, if you're one of those people like me who has a hard time remembering people's names, one of the things that you can do is, when you are introduced to a person for the first time, you repeat their name when you're telling them it's nice to meet you. And then as many times as you can say their name during the conversation without it, sounding like it's out of place.
Yes.
As many times as you can say the name while you're talking to the person, do that, because that's going to help. It's the repetition process that helps you to remember. But yes, remembering, and people get insulted when you don't remember their names. They really do.
Yeah, even though they know that they ideally would know that it's pretty common not to remember names.
Right.
But I knew how important it was that you cannot build a relationship with someone unless you know their name.
Well, that's true. That is very true.
And I remember when I first graduated college to be a teacher, and I graduated a little bit later than my age cohorts, and all the teaching jobs were taken, so that the only job I could get was to be a substitute teacher. And after the first day of substitute teaching, I came home with a sore throat, yelling at the kids. And I said, this is absolutely no way to earn a living, and I will never do this again. And I never did it again.
Oh, wow.
Instead, I smiled, and I learned their names very quickly.
Yes.
And when you look at these memory experts that, talk about association, for me, the only association is the face. And they say for memory, it's about focus and frame, frame that person in some way, some sort of association somehow.
Right.
But I became an expert at remembering people's names. And it has helped me so greatly.
Yeah.
In building relationships, and since I am the relationship doctor, it's a very, very good thing to do, Linda.
This is true.
Yes.
True. Yes.
And since I'm a visual person, I will also ask for a spelling. If the name is unusual, I will ask for a spelling. Yes. And then I think of the spelling in my mind's eye.
Right.
And as you say, people get upset if it's you don't remember their name, but they are so happy when you do.
Yes, they are. They are. It's true. And also, too, if there's something that, something that you can use that rhymes with their name that might help you remember it, that's another way of associating it so that you can remember their name. So there's a lot of different ways to do that.
Right, and the good news is that you are coming back next week. This interview is a 2-part series, and Excuse You, The Benefits of Living Courteously by Linda Williams. So if you would like to learn more about living courteously and benefits and more about etiquette and civility, then tune in to Just Relationships. And because what we're going to be looking at is identifying obstacles. What are some obstacles to courteousness, and how do we overcome the difficulties, and how do we behave when we're outside of our comfort zone, or when someone is aggressive? How do we remain civil when someone else is rude? That's a huge question, isn't it, Linda Williams?
Yes, it is. It is.
That is a huge question. So your book will be out when?
The book launch is actually on May 11th, and it will be at the Olive Branch Bookstore in East Williston.
Oh, very good. So that's May 11th.
Right.
And what's the time?
It is from 2 until 4 p.m.
The Olive Branch.
Right. It's actually, the address is 640 Willis Avenue in Williston Park. Willis
Avenue, the Olive Branch Bookstore and Williston Park.
Right.
Okay, May 11th, 2 to 4, Olive Branch. So everyone tune in next week to learn more about courtesy from Linda Williams. And this is Dr. Duffy Spencer saying goodbye for now and wishing you great relationships.